Hey there, everybody. Cindy Daychuck here with Queen Bee Creations. Thanks for joining me today. I am just back from vacation, and I was in Croatia, and there was a lot of really cool crafts. And one of the things that I love to do is kind of as I'm touring, as I'm visiting other places, use that as an inspiration to get some ideas. There's a lot of really cool ceramics, so a lot of clay mugs and plates with phenomenal designs painted and that sort of thing. And one of the things that I saw was a clay sheep. It was just really cute. I don't take pictures of these things because I think that's really rude of going into somebody's booth and taking a picture of their item. But I kind of keep the idea in my head, which means that when I get back to the shop and I go to try and do something similar, it's not going to be exact. It's not going to be copying. It's going to be my interpretation of whatever the image is in my head after a week and a half. Additionally, I don't have clay. I have air dry clay, and I have my whole own ideas of how I'm going to do this. But I'm going to pull you in overhead. What we are going to be making is a little sheep. So it's kind of stylized. It was kind of funky. It was kind of fun. We'll see if I can do something similar. The first thing that I'm going to do is lay down some plastic wrap, because I'm going to want to roll my clay out, and that's going to make it easier. So with this, because we're kind of doing a figurine, let me finish rattling all that. I am going to want to roll it out fairly thick because we're going to be making a standing figure. So I don't want it to be too thin. But I am going to want it patterned. So I'm taking a little doily and I'm going to put that on top. I'm going to put a doily on top of that one. And then I'm going to take a piece of plastic wrap. In my head, this works. We'll see in reality, but this is how I start. I just experiment. So I have the inspiration idea in my head. And this is maybe a little bit less than a half, a little bit more than a third of my block of clay. And I'm thinking that might be as thin as I want to roll it, because it's got to have some substance to it. So I'm going to peel off my doily. I wanted to have a pattern. They had kind of a pattern on theirs. It looked sort of doily-esque to me. Oh, that was a cute one. Okay. And there are different patterns on both sides. And I'm just kind of, I drew a picture. This is my picture. Yeah, so good thing I'm not drawing. And I'm just going to kind of, I think I'll do the head this way. And I'm just going to kind of cut this. Take my excess clay away. And this is just very stylized. It was just kind of fun, kind of funky. And I think very simple. So that's my sheep body. That says, well, maybe I just want to, let me just take this in a little bit here. So I am going to take just a little bit of water on my finger, and I'm just going to kind of smooth that out a little bit, just wherever I cut it, just so that it's not so crisp a line. Whoops. What did I do? This way? That way? That way? Well, now I'm just deciding which way I like it. Okay, this way. And then these pieces that I cut off, I have to make a head of some kind. And I'm not going to want him flat. They had theirs actually kind of curved, and I liked the idea of it being curved so that it's just kind of a different kind of shape to it, giving it a little bit more dimension. So for the head, I'm just going to take a ball of my clay. Just kind of get this merging together a bit. And shaping him. I'm just trying to see if his head is too big. Oh, that could be about right. And I need some ears. So what I do want to do is make sure that they're roughly the same size. So I'm going to take 2 balls and just kind of squish them together and see that they're about the same amount of clay, so that when I go to form them, I have a better chance of them looking like they belong. So I'm just kind of making them into a bit of a teardrop, and then I'm just going to kind of fold them a little bit. And, whoa, come on back. I'm just going to kind of wet that down and do the other side. And then I actually cut some wire down to be able to attach the head and those ears on. I don't really trust the clay to necessarily stay on its own accord, so I'm going to give it a little bit of help. So I'm just squishing it into my little diamond, my teardrop. I'm going to just kind of fold it over, dip my finger in some water. I'm going to stick it on the other side of its head. That one looks bigger, so here's where I can just pinch off that end. And it just went bigger because I made it thinner. And I'm actually going to stick a little bit of this wire through. I can feel it in the other side, the other ear, and into that ear. And I'm just going to shape his mouth a little bit. I'm looking for a little tool, a little something. Okay, I think the end of my pliers. My end of my tweezers. There we go. And I actually have a longer piece of wire. So I'm going to stick in the back of his head, and I'm going to stick into, it looks like it might be a little too long. And it's just an aluminum wire, so it's easy to cut, so it's great for crafting. Oh, now he's got a pimple on his forehead because my wire's coming through, so let me push that in. And I'm going to take some water and smooth that out. And you can take like a little tiny bit of clay and use that to help you smooth it a little. Now he's going to bend this way. And so what I have done is I've taken some screws, just like this, and I spray painted them black. And I'm going to stick them up into my clay as his legs. And let me try another. Okay, And I do want to just test whether or not he can stand. So this screw has to go up more. I want to put the screws in while he's wet so that even if once he's dry they fall out, I have the hole ready made that I can then glue them in place if need be. So that's him. He's going to stand and dry, and then we'll see what he looks like tomorrow when I come in, and whether or not I can just go to town and all right. So his head is too heavy to stay. So what I am going to do is I am going to, because I want it raised a little bit. So I'm going to take some of my plastic wrap. I'm just going to roll it up, pop it under the head, and let that stay in place. Where's something better height? And let them dry like that and see how that goes. A little bit of support. We all need it sometimes. So far, he's cute and he's looking a lot like the ones I saw. So he's just got to stay like that all night. And, oh, I would have been better not touching him again. So he's going to stay like this all night and dry, and then we can paint him up tomorrow. My little sheep has had overnight to dry, but it is still very cold to the touch because it's quite thick. And because it's very cold, it means it's not actually dry yet. But it's dry enough that I can put some paint onto it and then let it continue to dry overnight again. You know, this paint is just going to make it wetter. So it's going to take a lot more dry time, but you know, that's the way it goes. Now, what I decided to do at this stage, you could paint it with whatever paint that you want to, depending upon the look. I'm going to do it a little bit funky, which means I'm going to do watercolor, and I'm going to do some very wet watercolor washes and kind of let them sort of drip. Just because that's what I'm looking for. You know what? He's going to be a sheep, but he's going to be a funky sheep. So I'm just going to do him up with these washes, let them dribble down. I am going to want, ultimately, when it's dry, to seal this and make it a little more glossy, just to give it more of like a pottery glazed kind of look. We're using the air-dried clay, which is not kind of a ceramic finish with glaze, but we're going to take it that way. The ones that I saw in Croatia were definitely pottery. They were hand-painted, glazed kind of finishes, and I'm just kind of going for a little bit of that, but I'm doing it my style. So kind of my take on this. And don't ever think that you can't use somebody else's work as your takeoff point, as your sort of inspiration. You don't want to necessarily copy something exact, but you can certainly kind of do your own thing with it. And I don't have a kiln, I don't have pottery, and I'm doing my own thing with this. And I just kind of drew a rough sketch and went from there. And that's perfectly okay. Now, you'll notice I'm doing the body. So the body's going to be a little funky. The head, I'm going to keep pretty plain. So what I am going to do is just kind of paint it white. It's just the natural clay right now. And then just draw, like kind of paint kind of a creamy color just to outline kind of the face, and two little sleepy eyes for it. I'm not looking at doing made your eyes, and you know, you could have added clay eyes if you wanted, but I went without that. So I'm just kind of looking at this, mixing and merging and seeing what I want to do. I'm thinking once I have that on there, because I don't want the lines to be so specific, right? I just want them to kind of soften and merge in. Oh, got a little bit of green on his ear. We'll get that fixed. But I like this kind of wet washed effect. So, you know, no strong colors and just kind of nice and light. And I can see after he dries whether or not I want to add a little bit of gold to him. That's a possibility. We'll see. So I'm just going to get this finished, get a couple of paper towels to kind of clean up the wet underneath him. And then we'll see about adding some finish to him. My little sheep has had time to dry overnight, and as much as it's a little cool, it's pretty dry now. So that has been awesome. So the two things that I'm going to do right now, I am just going to draw little moon-shaped eyes, so closed eyes, because I think he'd look goofy with big eyes. So I'm just using a pen, and then I am going to spray it with a Krylon triple thick crystal glaze. I want it to be glossy. I want it to look a little bit ceramic-y. So I'm going to do a couple of light coats of that and then see how shiny that gets and where that takes me. I may add gold, but I'm going to use it as a last piece. So I'm going to see what it looks like prior. So I'm going to draw the eyes, spray, and then we'll see where we're at from there. All right, this is my little sheep so far, but look at the patterning. See how detailed that is? I just want to bring that out a little bit. So I'm using Golden Rule by DIY. You could use any little gilding wax. I'm just going to use my finger to just kind of highlight some of these details. And quite honestly, I'm looking at this thinking, maybe my Golden Rule is too subtle for this. Maybe I have a slightly bolder little guy. So I've switched to a gilding paste. It's called the gilding wax, but it's much more bold. And I'm not looking for this to be crazy nuts because I love the coloring that we chose, but I am just looking to lightly accent my highs on this. And then once the gilding wax is dry, this guy is done. All right, I just wanted to show you, I did one side with the gold, and I don't know if you can kind of see, but look at how much that detail stands out on him now versus the back that doesn't have any. So it looks good still. It just doesn't stand out as much. Now, the idea with this was just, I was on vacation and I saw little pottery sheep like this, and I thought he was just adorable with. I used screws. They had nails. I just didn't have any nails. That, I just spray painted black and made him out of my air-dried clay from IOD. Versus they had pottery clay, but look for inspiration anywhere. For something like this, I saw these in the market, did a quick little sketch when I got home, just made it from what was in my head. And I think that is perfectly fine, right? You get inspiration in numerous different places, in numerous different ways. And, there's no direct copying because I was just making it up. But I just thought he was adorable, and now I have one of my own. Let me know what you think of this one, guys. Think of this from the perspective of how easy would this be to make a little pig, a little cow, I'm thinking he may need some barnyard friends, so who knows? Who knows? Kind of a cute, different little idea inspired by a trip to Croatia. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one, as always. And until then, take care.